Hi everyone. Let me make sure this is right. Hi everyone. Let me make sure this is right. Okay, great. So we're going to get started with the stream. Sorry about that little delay at the beginning. I had to make sure this looked correct on my end. And it still looks a little bit funny, so we're going to adjust that. Okay, so welcome guys. Today we're talking about how to make the right college decision. So whether or you are a freshman, sophomore, junior that is doing a college search, or you are a senior who is trying to make your final choice by that May 1st deadline, I have some great tips for you that will help you figure out where you should really be going to college in the end. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for coming to this live stream because I am doing these every week and I really just want to help you guys, and I hope that these are helpful. If you came last week and you're here again, welcome again. If you didn't come previously, then we are glad to have you here. This whole stream, I'm going to be referencing my college admissions book, You Got Into Where, and this book is available on Amazon, and it's available a ton of different places. If you look in the description box, there's some links to different ways you can get access to some resources as well as the book. So if you want to snag a copy, definitely grab it because I'm going to be referencing it for those who don't have the book but really want to get some tips for you guys. Also, if you have questions, of course, you can send them in the chat box and we will answer them throughout the whole session. So first, we're going to start with the people who are trying to make their final college decision. So for those of you who know me or follow me, you know that I got into a few schools. More specifically, I got into NYU, Northwestern, the University of Miami, the University of Georgia, Temple University, Howard University, and the University of Southern California. I'm currently at the University of Southern California studying journalism, and I'm so happy with my college choice. And I know that for some of you, you might think I was going to choose a different school like Northwestern or NYU, and the biggest question I get is why didn't I pick NYU? So we are going to be discussing what led me to choose USC ultimately and how you can make that decision so you can be happy at the school you're at and things like that. So last time we had slides, but today it's just going to be a really candid conversation, nothing too formal, because I really want to give you time to ask questions because I know last time people had a ton of questions. So we're just going to talk candidly about where I chose to go. So basically, I eliminated my college choices down to USC, NYU, and the University of Miami because I received full tuition scholarships to all three. All of the schools are pretty expensive, so money was definitely one of the main reasons why it came down to those three. Other schools just didn't give me enough money for them to even be considered. So going into my college application process, USC was my top choice school. I was obsessed with the Annenberg School, which is one of the top journalism schools in the country. Even though I wasn't familiar with LA, I was really excited to explore a new city. I'm from the East Coast, so I've been on the East Coast my whole life, basically. And I just really loved the vibes I got when I visited USC. If we want to talk about NYU, for example, NYU is a great school, but when I visited, I just knew that I liked USC a lot better. I felt like the journalism school was getting a lot more attention at USC, and that I would have no problems getting internships or having opportunities or having really good professors. NYU didn't really give me that much information about the journalism major, so I was really not 110% confident that it was the right school for me to be studying, especially since journalism is a field where you kind of have to get your foot in the door if you want to be successful. And of course, New York City is a great place to be studying journalism, but Los Angeles is as well. And so I felt like USC had a lot of connections, a lot of great events for students, for undergraduates especially. So it was really all about the major. And I always talk about weather. For anyone who has watched my other videos, I always say that weather was a big factor. For me, I didn't want to have to study in the snow. I wanted to be able to sit outside, go to the beach with my friends, not be depressed because it was too cold outside. And now I'm in Los Angeles, and when it's under 70 degrees, I feel like it's winter time. Even though I grew up in like Pennsylvania where it snows all the time, it was just such a relief to not have to worry about weather. It doesn't rain or anything. When you're in college, you walk a lot, or you bike a lot, or you just are outside a lot in between classes. So I feel like going through the snow wasn't my ideal picture for college. So another great school I got into was Northwestern University, and that's a top 12 school, I believe. So it's a really, really, really prestigious university, no doubt about it. But I am not that familiar with Chicago. Once again, with my major, I wanted to be in one of the hubs of journalism. So that's really New York and Los Angeles. Of course, the other cities in the United States do have great companies that are there, but I really wanted to be like right in my face, journalism. Northwestern has one of the top journalism schools once again, but I felt like USC's program was a better match for me. I felt that USC was very innovative, and I thought that the school environment was also really right for me. Also, if you don't know, Chicago has a lot of snow. Once again, I was not messing with that type of weather when I was trying to decide where to go to college. It just didn't seem like the right thing for me. Some people are like, oh, I just love the cold. And I'm just like, yeah, I love it, but I love the warm better. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so those are all the things that really were going through my mind, because once I got my scholarships, all the schools kind of cost the same price. NYU was still a little bit more expensive than the rest because they gave me $45,000 a year, and I think their tuition is a little bit over $50,000. So another thing about NYU that was really attractive to me, that really like made the decision hard, was I was a MLK scholar, and MLK is basically the scholarship they give. It's like one of the only merit scholarships. I think there's one other at NYU. They choose about 30 people every year to give the scholarship to. 30. And there's no interviews. They just review your college application, and then they choose 30 people out of like the 50,000 applicants that got in. So I felt like they really, that was really flattering to know that I was chosen. And another benefit of the MLK program was you had a community of students who are really involved back home. It wasn't all black students. It was a very diverse group, and they had a lot of programming for the scholars. So every year they go on like a trip, and I think this year they went to Paris, I believe, and they do one international and one domestic. So it was like a really attractive program without a doubt. And I feel like if I went there, I would have been very happy with that program as well. But for me, I really wanted a traditional campus. I went to New York all the time as a kid, so it wasn't like I wasn't like adapted to New York City lifestyle. It just felt weird for me to go there for college. because a lot of students talked about how they have to take the metro to class, or they live very far away, so they're only on campus when they have to be, not for like activities or anything. So I really wanted like a really close community where if I wanted to be in clubs, it wouldn't be a burden to have to leave my bed to go to a meeting. Like here, I only have to walk max 7 minutes to get somewhere, and that's just something that I really enjoyed. Plus, USC is in a pretty decent location in LA, so I can go to the beach, I can go downtown, I can go to Hollywood. So I have best of both worlds. I have a campus feel, and I'm also in a major city. Some of the cons that I had to think about were the what was I gonna say? Oh, some of the cons of each of USC. I just wasn't familiar with California. I don't have really that much family in California. That's in LA at least. I have family somewhere else, but I haven't seen them yet. And I just really loved USC. The only cons were it's far from home, but anywhere at that point I wouldn't be able to drive. Like basically all my schools you can't do. So anywhere I would be flying. So I really just was happy with my choice. So I'm going to look at some of your questions, and then we're going to get into helping you guys figure out where the right school is for you to go. I just wanted you guys to get some background on how I came to my final choice and clear up some of those questions you guys had about why I chose USC over NYU, Northwestern, etc. So let's look at the questions. Okay, I already answered why I didn't go to NYU. Okay, a lot of people asked about NYU, but I answered that. I answered about Northwestern. Okay, we're going to get into more of the questions that aren't relevant at the end. I really want this session to be focused on how you can make the right college decision. So if I'm not answering your question, we might get to it later on. So one thing is financial capability. So Kate said she's a fall transfer and she applied as a journalism major, but she's afraid she won't be able to afford it. How do students afford USC? One, they're either really rich. Two, they're really poor and get a lot of financial aid. Three, they get merit scholarships. Or four, they risk it and take out tons of loans. There's no really especially for transfers, it's hard to get scholarships. So it's really important for you high school students to make sure you are killing it on your academics, because you don't want to go down the road and not realize you didn't put in enough work to be able to afford your education. But Kate, I really hope you can find some scholarships to help you pay for USC. The price is not going down. The tuition went up again this year. So make sure you make the right choice for you that you're comfortable with financially, because it is like a really big commitment. Shakur made a comment about the USC dining hall food. So food might be something you're considering when you are going to go to a college. However, most colleges you only have to eat in the dining halls for the first year. And USC, you're not even required to eat in the dining halls. You can have dining dollars, which allows you to eat at the on-campus restaurants like California Pizza Kitchen, there's Starbucks, there's Panda Express. There's a place called Verde, which is like a Chipotle type restaurant. So there's other options if you don't like the dining hall. I personally don't have any dining dollars, so I eat in the dining hall every day. I feel like anywhere you're going to get sick of the food after a couple months. I think at the beginning I thought it was good, but now it's just like whatever. They have good days, they have bad days. I feel like there's only a handful of schools that actually have like good food. So I don't think that food is something you should really think about, because you can always buy your own food and cook your own food if you don't like it. Anna asked about affording flights and food, etc. So as far as flights, I have to book them way ahead of time. I have gotten flights as cheap as $78 one way to the East Coast, but I've had to pay upwards of like $250 one way. So it just depends on your timing and the time of year, of course. And that's something you have to factor in if you're thinking about going far away for college, that flights do cost money, traveling expenses are real. So you got to make sure you have all of that planned, especially if that means you're not going to see your family as often because you can't afford to travel home. Definitely think about that. Sam asked, is college full of pointless things like high school? Well, that's actually can be tied into this video because some colleges, like public state colleges, you don't even get into your major until your junior year. So your freshman and sophomore year are all GEs. A private school like USC weaves in your GEs and major classes so that you are doing a little bit of your major, and then by the time you're upperclassmen, you're doing more major classes. So for example, last semester I had 1, this semester I have 2, and next semester I have 2 again for journalism major. So I'm doing a mix of general education and journalism. And of course, you have more options for the classes you can pick. So in high school, you might have felt like some of your required classes were pointless, but in college, you can kind of pick classes that interest you more or that might apply to your major, even if it's not a major class, so that school doesn't seem pointless. Nada said, my parents won't let her go to college out of state or go to one more than an hour away. What should I do to widen my options? So I think that you should definitely have some colleges that abide by your parents' rules, but make sure you have a frank conversation. If you're really interested in a school that's kind of far, say to your parents that see if they will allow you to apply to some schools, if you definitely have those close schools on your list. Just ask them why they're worried. If it's things like financial capabilities, say that you can get scholarships. I was awarded more money for private out-of-state schools than I was for in-state public schools, and that's a misconception because a lot of people think, well, your public in-state schools are going to give you the most money. That's not always the case because private schools have a lot of money to give that are merit scholarships. Okay. Ooh, there's a lot of questions. Okay. Ugana asked, how do you pick a school beyond the financial part? So I'm going to reference my book for this part because it goes into a lot of detail on factors you should consider. So let's go to that. So if you have my book, it's chapter 3, which is the college search chapter. But even if you're not doing your college search technically, you still can use this to help you make your final decision. So the first thing I have people do is when they're first starting their college search is determining their ideal school. And this basically talks about identifying the physical, environmental, social, academic, and extracurricular characteristics you want to see in your future college or university. So without thinking about any colleges that you even know about, just write a list of things you want. Do you want a small college, large college? Do you want it to be in-state or out-of-state? Do you want it to be very diverse? Do you want it to have international students? Are there certain clubs that they have to have? And things like that. So just brainstorm that, and then there's some other factors to add to your brainstorming. So location, we kind of talked about. So do you want to be in a city or rural area? Do you want to have to fly home, or do you want your parents to be able to drive and pick you up? Weather, do you want it to be snowing all the time? Do you want it to have 4 seasons? Do you want it to be warm all year round? Do you want it to be moderate weather? Do you want it to be a Ivy League, a public state college, a private university, a religiously affiliated school, a technical or engineering school, a liberal arts school. There's tons, and of course we don't have the time to touch on what all of those schools mean, but of course if you check out my book or you go to the links in the description box, you can get more information on all the stuff I'm talking about if you don't understand something that I'm saying. Also, you can consider the campus atmosphere. So going to a school with 5,000 students is different than a school with 25,000 students. That can affect your class sizes. That can affect how well you get to know your professors. That can affect the competition for different positions like club leadership or things like that. So definitely consider how many people you want to be around. Also, if you are a minority, see what opportunities they have for minorities on your campus. Is there a Black Student Union? Is there a international student assembly? Are there different programmings? Do they have faculty that look like you? Make sure you research all of that, because you don't want to show up to school and be like, dang, they don't have any Latino professors and I identify with that, or they don't have any Black people working in the high positions. Like, you just want a school that you feel like you're going to be very comfortable in. The next thing you can consider is student life. So are students really into Greek life? Are students really into sports? Are students more into studying all the time? Do students party in the weekends? Do they go out? And of course, every school is going to have every type of student, but sometimes one personality dominates. So I felt like NYU had a very artistic, liberal vibe. I felt like USC had a entrepreneurship, go big or go home vibe, but also had a lot of arenas to be creative, to have fun, and things like that. So just try to figure out what type of vibe the schools have, and you can reach out to students via social media that go to that school. You obviously have me. If you're interested in USC, you can reach out to alumni or family members who went to that school and things like that. Next, we have academics. So make sure the school you want to go to has your major. A lot of schools, especially Ivies, did not have my major. Journalism is not available at any of the Ivies, only for graduate degrees. So I couldn't even go to an Ivy to study journalism. I would have to do English and maybe a concentration, but there is no journalism school that was available for me. So make sure you know that they have what you want to study, or a few things that you might want to study in case you change your major. Also, you can consider the class sizes. So do you want to be in a huge lecture hall for most of your classes, or do you want to have some smaller, intimate classes? At USC, I've had classes as small as 12, and my largest class so far is about 100 or less. But you can't really avoid some of your larger classes, especially as an underclassman, but USC, as far as my major, has done a really good job of keeping the classes pretty small. You also might want to find out if the students are collaborative or more competitive, because some of the really prestigious schools, it feels like students have said that it doesn't feel like students are there to help you. You're really competing for spots. You're competing to have the highest GPA. And there's other schools where it might be more collaborative, where everyone's trying to help each other and bring each other up. So I think that's a great thing to have. It's just whichever environment you think you thrive in. Lastly, if you haven't visited the campus, try to visit. If it's too far, if you can't afford it, or if it's not feasible, then do a virtual tour. I have campus tour videos on my channel for the schools that I did apply to, and some that I didn't even end up applying to. So make sure you visit campus, because that could be the ultimate decision. For me, visiting NYU was just my hint that I should be at USC. Like, I knew for sure. Even though both programs were super attractive, just being on campus told me what and where I should be. So that's basically the synopsis for my book. I went over it very quickly, but once again, description box, if you want to check out the book, it's down there, as well as some other links to some really cool resources that are free. So let's get back to some questions, because as I was explaining that, the list just got very long, and hopefully I answered some of your questions while you were there. Okay, so Xavier asked, does it cost more to be a double major? No, it shouldn't cost more to be a double major unless you have to take more than the maximum number of credits. So for me, my major has a certain number of credits, and that allows me enough room to be a double major and graduate on time and not pay extra money. If you have a major that is a lot of units, then you might not be able to double major. You might have to minor. But that's all something you can figure out once you get to your school and talk to your advisor, which is kind of like your guidance counselor. Claire said, should I consider how competitive or hard it is to get a good GPA? I'm pre-med. So I have a lot of friends who are pre-med, and I feel like sometimes a school can carry a lot of weight and your GPA can carry a lot of weight. So I feel like there's a balance. If you go to Harvard, for example, and your GPA is a little bit lower, I feel like a med school would realize that, but I'm not pre-med, so I feel like talking to another pre-med student or the program at your school will help you get a better gauge on which type of school you should be at. You want to go to a school where you would be successful, but you also want to be challenged a little bit. So use that to gauge whether or not you feel like you want to be at that school. Kai asks, is it a wise decision to visit campuses during the summer? I can only visit during the summer. Yeah, I did all my campus tours during the summer because it just isn't possible during the school year for me. Unless you're a senior, then you don't want to wait till the summer because the commitment date would already pass. But if you are a freshman, sophomore, junior, you can do your visits during the summer. I did mine the summer after junior year. And yeah, summer school is different from the regular classes in the fall. It's just a lot less students that are going to be on campus, so you might not get the full vibe of campus. But I think I gauged pretty well how the campus would be just from visiting. The students do kind of make a difference, but not as much as you would think. I say a visit is better than no visit at all. Maddie says, is it easy to double major or minor at USC? Yeah, a lot of people double major. I'm going to have a double minor, actually, so I'm excited for that. It's going to be in Spanish and a minor called communication design, which is kind of like graphic design, business, and art all mixed in one. And can you graduate in 4 years? Yes, I will be graduating in 4 years. I could have graduated in 4 years with a double major, but I chose to do my double minor. And I'm going to study abroad, so it is so feasible. Anna says, do you think it's better to choose between a public state school, full tuition, or USC with a couple of loans? What opportunities has USC provided you that you couldn't have gotten at your own state school? So, financials are always the top thing for students. So, for me, I wasn't comfortable going to my local state school because I didn't like the location. I also did not see that a lot of funding was available for people in my program. USC just had a longer alumni list, a longer list of connections. USC brings in everyone, literally everyone comes to USC, whether that's in journalism or not. We have world leaders come, we have the best companies come, Facebook, Apple, everyone you can think of visits USC. And of course, other schools have those opportunities as well, but it's not as scarce. I literally, any day, I can go out and find someone that is doing a talk, that is doing a workshop. So I really like that about USC. And there are probably some state schools that do have those opportunities. So just make sure you do your research because your state school may offer a lot that you might not be considering. And a lot is also that money that they're giving you. You can always go somewhere for grad school. not having to pay for your undergraduate degree is probably a great choice. So maybe even try out your local state school, and if you don't like it, you can transfer. But make sure you are realizing that a full tuition scholarship is a lot of money and that loans are not fun. Kiki said, was the low black population at USC a factor? Well, I only applied to one HBCU. Everyone else was a PWI, and I knew that the black population was not going to be like 50% or anything like that. I went to a predominantly white high school for, well, high school, middle school, elementary school, so it wasn't really a bothersome factor. I found more black community here than I found growing up. That's just because of my context. If you grew up in an all-black community, going to a PWI might be a little bit more challenging, but it all just depends on the type of environment you want to see. I have friends who went to HBCUs who see the pros and cons. For me, I see the pros and cons of both. I feel like you can be happy with both. It's just, what are your priorities? Is it the cultural experience, or the friendships you're going to make, or is it the resources and things like that? I feel like if you talk to black students who went to both schools, they're both going to vouch for their school experience and probably say that there are some things that they would have liked about the other experience as well. But I am happy with my final choice ultimately. The next question. Kennedy says, how does it feel to be in such a large college? Do you feel as though you have a connection with the professors at all? So I feel like when I first applied to USC, I thought it was a large college, but when I got here, this is actually more of a medium size, because all my professors know me, basically. I know all my professors. They're really, really, really good. I've had professors who work for the New York Times. My current journalism professor has like 5 Emmys. And like it's so easy to make a connection with them. Even my one lecture that has like over 100 students, like it's so easy to get to know the professors. So I don't think that USC is a large school. I feel like places like Penn State or University of Florida or University of Georgia are large schools. USC is a medium school. If you look us up on Google Maps, we're literally just like a small square. Campus is so small. Literally get to all my classes in 5 minutes or less. So USC isn't that big. Los Angeles is big, which is probably why people think USC is big, but we're not that big. Nada asks, can you do undergraduate research as a freshman at USC? Yeah, you can do undergraduate research. I have friends who are in research, whether you are in science or you're in a different field. Mostly every school has opportunities to do research. A mentee asks, does your minor have to be the same as your major? No, you can minor in anything you want. So you can be a neuroscience major with a cinema studies minor. There's no restrictions on those combinations. And yes, you can major and minor in different departments at USC. Jacqueline asked, does double majoring inhibit you from doing extracurriculars and pursuing internships? Nope, you just take the same amount of classes you would be taking. You just make sure that they apply to your major or minor. You're not really doing any extra work for a major or minor. You just make sure that the free elective units go towards your double major or your minor. Corey asks, how is the black community at USC? Do black alumni support and mentor undergrads? Yeah, so I actually am in a mentorship program with the Black Alumni Association. My mentor works at NBC Universal. A lot of people get matched with people in similar fields as there, so there are so many opportunities to network and get mentors. I have a mentor in the Black Alumni Association. She's the assistant director. and there's a lot of great connections you can make. Even though we are scarce, we are powerful, and there are really great opportunities if you take advantage. Evan asked, why did the University of Miami fall away? Because it was also in a warm climate between NYU and USC. Yeah, so when I went to the University of Miami, if I'm being really frank, I felt like all they cared about was marine biology. All of the info sessions, all of the sessions with professors, they're all about marine biology and the biology department at the University of Miami. So if you like marine biology, go to the University of Miami, because that's where they're putting a lot of their money. Also has a journalism program, but it wasn't as strong as USC. Miami is a great place if you want to study Spanish-speaking journalism, but I wanted to be in a hub city, so that's LA and NYC. A lot of you guys are asking about why I chose USC over NYU. That was answered at the beginning of the session. So if you did sign up via email, if you didn't sign up via email, go do that below, because you'll get access to these videos once they're already recorded. So if you miss that long answer I did at the beginning, then go sign up and make sure you watch. Does the college's reputation or status play a role in things like internships or jobs, or is it the student skills? So for me, it's a mix of both. At USC literally runs a lot of companies in LA. For example, when I went to NBC, there's a group of 12 alumni, and they all spoke to us, and they're basically like, yeah, like half of my team is USC alum. So if you are in a big city like that, companies will definitely favor a school's candidate, because they know what the candidates are like. However, you might find yourself competing against people within your school, and that's when your skills are taken into account, of course. What was the merit scholarship I got from USC? I got the Presidential Scholarship as well as the Wallace Annenberg Scholarship. The Wallace Annenberg Scholarship is not listed on the scholarship page. I think that's what you're talking about, Kiki. Decker says, how do you personally feel on the USC campus? Safety. So I feel totally safe on campus. There's campus police basically everywhere. USC is a gated campus, so at 9 p.m. all the gates close and only students and authorized people can get on the campus. South LA, or the south of any city, has crime rates. Any city, if you want to go to school in a city, there will be crime. So if you don't want to have that around you, then go to school in a farmland, because you can't escape crime in any city. Nothing bad has ever happened to me or any of my friends. I feel safe walking around campus and on the outskirts of campus. USC has, they're called DPS, which is the police. They have them in a radius around campus, as well as people who stand on about every block, a couple blocks far from campus. Oh, there are so many questions. I was going in order, then I accidentally scrolled like down. Also, if you asked a question, don't keep sending it, because they're not getting erased. Like, I still see them. It's just I have a lot of questions. Okay. Um, where was I? Okay, I can't find where I was. Um, oh wait, I think I found where it was. Did I ever consider any schools in Boston? No. I was not trying to be in 12 feet of snow. I know Boston University has a good program. I was also considering Syracuse, but I didn't apply to either. Carol asks, what is my perspective on studying abroad? Well, I am going abroad this summer for 3 weeks, and I'm also planning to do a semester abroad. I love traveling. If you love traveling, if you love languages, definitely go abroad. If you don't, and you start to learn to like them, this is like your one chance in your life that you'll get to live in a foreign country when your parents can pay or the loans can pay. So definitely try it out if you haven't been considering. But of course, if you're in high school, you can think about that when you get to college, of course. Um, Kennedy asks, what are my favorite things about USC that you didn't expect? My favorite things are the weather. I really like the networking and the people who come here. I've met so many people and made so many connections. I've received internship offers just by showing up to events and not even applying. The students are amazing. I have friends interning at Disney, Instagram, anywhere you can think of. I have friends interning there, and I really think that helps motivate you when you see other people doing great things. It makes you want to do something great as well. Evan says, do you know anything about creative writing classes at USC, and would you ever want to take any? Well, I am in the Thematic Option Honors Program, which is a program at USC that replaces some of your GE classes, and they are humanities and literature based, so we do a lot of writing. I wouldn't call it creative writing, but there is a creative writing program that students are also in that really, really like to write. Shakur asked, why didn't I apply to Stanford? Stanford doesn't have undergraduate journalism, and I am not familiar with the city Stanford's in. It's not in a city. And also, they have like a 5% acceptance rate. I don't think an acceptance rate should defer you, but I was being realistic with my parents' money who were paying for all of my college applications. Okay, I'm getting towards the end of the questions. So Evan asked, did I ever consider applying to Emory University since it's in Georgia? And yeah, so is Emory a state school or a private school? Let me Google this really quick because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Emory is private, so because it's private, it doesn't matter if you're in state or not. Everyone pays the same. Also, Emory is more of heavily science-based and focused. I wanted somewhere that was providing funding to my program and supporting people in my program. USC just got a $10 million gift for the Annenberg School of Journalism because they love us, and we have some great donors who are funding journalism and communication. So definitely find a school that is passionate about your program. Also, um, yeah, they only had graduate journalism, I believe. Jacqueline asks, how can one pay for study abroad opportunities? How am I paying? You have to work and get money, or you can apply for scholarships. But working, I feel like, is the quickest way you'll get money, and also saving up, finding ways to get around paying money. I'm in a program called a Maymester, which helps me because I don't have to pay for my tuition. It's on my spring semester, but that's because I have a scholarship. So if you don't have a scholarship, that's extra $6,000 students have to pay who do the Maymester. But let's not get into that. That's just basically a quick synopsis. Um, Xavier asks, how do you know if a college is putting money towards your program? Well, they brag about it. USC, for example, has social media. It has, of course, you can visit their website and see who the donors are. You can see how much, what is it called, endowments. You can literally Google the school's endowments. Just Google USC Annenberg Endowment or USC Endowment, and you can see how much money they get in. You can also see if they have scholarships for students in your major. That's a way you can see if they're putting money towards you, to see if they have scholarships once you're enrolled and things like that. A mentee asks, what are the advantages of studying while staying in a dorm? Well, you're on campus, you're really close, you probably have a meal plan. Most freshmen are required to stay on campus anyways, so you don't really have a choice. Then staying off campus, you're a little bit further, but you can have as many guests as you want. You cook your own food. You have more independence. You don't have to live with someone necessarily. I'm living in the dorms next year as well, and the new dorms at the University Village. Then when I'm upperclassman, I will live off campus. Gabrielle asks, do you think going out of state is a great opportunity? Yeah, like I said before, money should not deter you from applying out of state. I got more money from out of state schools than my in-state schools. Definitely apply out of state, especially if you're a strong candidate, because you can get money. So don't let that deter you. If there's other reasons why you don't want to go out of state, like homesickness and stuff like that, just remember that a lot of students are going out of state and everyone's going to be a freshman, so everyone's going to be trying to make friends, and homesickness is inevitable. So once you get past your first semester, it's going to be a lot easier second semester. Same for after your first year, it's going to be a lot easier your successive years. So for those who are just joining, make sure you check out my book. I referenced it a couple of times throughout this live stream. All the info is in the description box. I also want to point you guys to the access to the other live streams of this series. So this is number 2. There are 5 episodes. Make sure you go subscribe, sign up, RSVP for that, because you will get email notifications when I go live again. There's also a link to a free 5-day course on scholarships that I created, so make sure you sign up for that. And there's also a college admissions blog that I run called You Got Into Where, so make sure you check that out too. So that's about 5 things you can check out. So I also wanted to shout out a program called Raise.me. They are a organization that helps students get scholarships by just listing their accomplishments, whether it is staying at home to raise a sibling or things like that, or getting A's on your exams. Just check it out, because you can get scholarships for schools while you're in high school, and then once you get accepted to the school, you'll have a scholarship waiting for you. So that's a different way you can get scholarships. I wanted to thank you guys for answering some of the questions for your peers in the live chat, because of course I don't have time to answer all the questions. So that's really helpful for me. So I have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So if you have questions, send them again. If I didn't answer your question and you really want it answered, then send it right now. I'll give you guys a few seconds to type in your questions. Okay, so there's a question from Christina. Do you have to do presentations? Yeah, it just depends on the class. I haven't had any yet, but it just depends on the class. Shakur asks, what are merit scholarships? Merit scholarships are scholarships based on your academic achievements, so your GPA, maybe test scores, and things like that. How do meal plans work? Each school will have a couple of options for a meal plan. USC has basically unlimited swipes to the dining hall, and then you add on dining dollars after that to eat at the on-campus restaurants, and you just pay for it with your tuition. Kiki said, I've heard USC is for extroverts. I'm very introverted. Is that still okay for me? I don't think I've ever heard that every type of student goes to USC, because we literally have every type of student from tons of different countries. No one is the same at USC. Everyone is literally different. We have like 1 out of 4 international students or something ridiculous like that. Any type of person is doing well at USC. For all of you guys asking for scholarship help, I literally said go to the description box. Scholarships was in the description box, because there's literally a 5-day course that is free for you guys. So if you have any advice for scholarships, scholarship essays, financial aid, go to the description box right now because there is a 5-day course. There is the You Got Into Wear blog, and there is my book. Go look at that. Let's see. What's the difference between the Goodwall app, Raise.me, and Scholly? So Goodwall app just gives you scholarships based on your accomplishments. Those are just general scholarships that you can use at any school. Raise.me gives you scholarships to specific schools. So when you get accepted, you'll have money coming from that school. And Scholly has scholarships from organizations that you just have to apply to. And that's usually not based on your achievements, based on your academic and your essays and all that stuff. QuestBridge at USC. I don't think I've met any QuestBridge students. I'm sure they have a community. So I think that is all the time we have for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have any more questions, just go to the links below, because I guarantee you that those have it. Also, my channel has tons of videos. My book has tons of tips. My channel has videos on SAT, ACT, scholarships, anything. So if I didn't answer your question about those topics, then make sure you go look at my videos. If you have questions about USC, go to the USC website, go to the USC housing website. You can look at floor plans for dorms. You can see what those dorms have. Make sure you do your research and not just depend on what I'm telling you guys. Nada, I will answer your questions. Are there kitchens we can use at USC? Yes, you just have to make sure you choose the right dorm. My dorm has no kitchens. Some dorms are apartment styles and they have kitchens. If you haven't clicked on the stuff in the description box by now, then I'm judging you, because there are tons of free resources. Free. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Join me next Tuesday at the same time. We will be doing our 3rd session. And I low-key forget the topic right now, so let me look at it real quick. Episode 3 is Testing 101, SAT, ACT, AP exams, SAT 2s, all of that. So if you have questions about testing, be here next week, same time, because we're going to get into the testing. Okay, yeah, thanks guys. I will talk to you guys next time. And I'm typing responses right now. Bye.